परित्यज्य सर्वं यदाप्नोति परित्यज्य सर्वं यदाप्नोति तत्त्वं परं ब्रह्म नित्यं तदेवाहमस्मि दयालं गुरुं ब्रह्मनिष्ठं प्रशान्तम् समाराध्य मध्य विचार्य स्वरूपम् यदाप्नोति तत्त्वं निदिध्यास्य विद्वान् निदिध्यास्य विद्वान् यदाप्नोति तत्त्वं निदिध्यास्य विद्वान् परं ब्रह्म नित्यं तदेवाहमस्मि यदानन्दरूपं प्रकाशस्वरूपं निरस्तप्रपञ्चं परिच्छेदहीनम् अहं ब्रह्मवृत्त्यैकगम्यं तुरीयम् परं ब्रह्मत्यं तदेवाहमस्मि यदज्ञानतो भाति विश्वं समस्तम् विनष्टं च सद्यो यदात्मप्रबोधे मनोभागतीतं विशुद्धं विमुक्तम् परं ब्रह्म नित्यं तदेवाहमस्मि निषेधे कृते नेति नेतीति वाक्यैः समाधिस्थितानां यदा भाति पूर्णम् अवस्थात्रयातीतमद्वैतमेकम् ब्रह्म नित्यं तदेवाहमस्मि यदान्तरेशैः समानन्ति विश्वम् यदा भाति सत्त्वे तदा भाति सर्वम् यदा लोकनिरूपमन्यत् समस्तम् परं ब्रह्म नित्यं तदेवाहमस्मि अनन्तं विभुं निर्विकल्पं निरीहम् शिवं संगहीनं यदोङ्कारगम्यम् निराकारमत्युज्ज्वलं मृत्युहीनम् परं ब्रह्म नित्यं तदेवाहमस्मि शृणोति वा नित्यमुद्युक्तचित्तः भवेद् विष्णुरत्रैव वेदप्रमाणः भवेद् विष्णुरत्रैव वेदप्रमाणः. So the first verse talks about the adhikari, the sadhaka, mumukshu. Sadhana chatushtaya sampannaha, endowed with the fourfold wealth, spiritual wealth. Not material wealth, but spiritual wealth. Adhyatmika dhanam, sampat. This is in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavan classifies the two types of wealth, Daivi Sampat and Asuri Sampat. In fact, one chapter devoted to this, predominantly this discussion, Daivasura Sampat Vibhaga Yoga. Daivi Sampat, divine wealth. The wealth, the set of values, the character of a person which elevates, the set of values elevates the person to as if the person is divine, to a level of divinity. That is the Daivi Sampat, divine wealth. And the other is Asuri Sampat, demonic wealth. Right? Demoniac wealth. What would degrade a person in one's own vision and in the vision of others? So, what would degrade a person, push down a person, that is the Asuri Sampat. Dambaha, Darpaha, Ahankaraha, all this, pride, vanity, egoity, right? And then jealousy, etc. Greed. These are all Asuri Sampat. Now, a sadhaka, a mukshu, if the person has a tinge of this Asuri Sampat, then the person by practice deliberately gives up these Asuri Sampat. Having Asuri Sampat, one can never discover a peace within. The peace within, the composure, the joy, abiding joy, one cannot discover. Krishna says there itself, in that chapter itself, Daivi Sampat Vimokshaya. Daivi Sampat leads to freedom, happiness, abiding happiness. A happiness which is sattvika, satvikam sukham. Whereas Nibandhaya Asuri Mata, the Asuri Sampat, demoniac, these belongings, possessions, lead to Nibandha, samsara, suffering, only never-ending, otherwise never-ending suffering that will lead to. Here, the sadhaka, the mumukshu, deliberately takes to this Daivi Sampat. Tapaha, yajna, dana, these are all taking to Daivi Sampat. Nurtures the Daivi Sampat, the nobility in the person, these nurture. And one relates to this entire prapancha. While I as an individual, I stand related to myself. That is the way in which I handle myself. This is what I relate with myself. And then I relate with the other beings. And I relate with the total, the causal also. That is the Adhyatma, Adhidaiva, Adhibhuta and Adhidaiva. Tapaha helps me relate with myself properly on a higher plane, in my higher nature. And Dana helps me relate with other beings Adhibhuta helps me relate with them properly from a standpoint of nobility, from a higher standpoint, from my higher nature. And Yajna helps me understand the relation and try to relate with the causal Adidaiva. So by these three and other related sadhanas, a person discovers the relation on a higher plane with himself, with others and with the total. And by this, Shuddha Buddhi, one's mind is rendered pure. That mind which is pure is noble, saintly. It cannot hold anger for long, nor even when its anger is there, it will not express that anger inappropriately. That noble mind, even if it has anger, it will be only for a short while. They say, no? Suppose a person, somebody throws a stone or shoots an arrow in the water, then how long will that mark remain in that water? For a few moments. In fact, the mark will not remain, the ripples may be there just for a few seconds. After that, there is no mark at all. But then, suppose something is sculpted, written on rock, then it stands for long time. Thousands of years it stays. So, even if the anger, etc., appear in the mind of a noble person, it will not stay for long, number one. And even when it is there, the expression, the response will not be inappropriate, it will be appropriate. So, Shuddha Buddhihi, one's mind is mature, right? It's pure, free from the clutches of Raga, Dvesha, not the slave of likes and dislikes. Otherwise, a person remains a slave. Gulam. Main gulam hu. Right? Kabir Das says, Gulam. I am a gulam. Gulam means I am a servant. I am a slave, servant. But whose gulam I am is important. Gulam of whom is important. Gulam means a slave or a servant. Whose servant? I am Ishvara Dasaha, fine, most welcome. Ishasya Dasaha, Ish ka gulam hu, Ram ka gulam hu, yes. But then, if I am a gulam of Ragadvesha, then I am a real gulam, right? I am a real slave of my own whims and fancies. Incorrect, inappropriate perceptions, outlook, expressions, responses, behavior, etc. Therefore, a Shuddha Buddhi will not have inappropriate expressions, will not be a slave of one's own Raga, Dvesha. This is repeatedly pointed out, said in the Bhagavad Gita. Many times Bhagavan says, Vigataicha Vayakrodaha, and then one who is the master of one's own self, etc. Bhagavan keeps on saying, never tires of saying this again and again. So, the importance of this, one's self-mastery, can never be overstated. Can never be overstated. Right? Any number of times you say, it is said, it is worth. It's so important. That is the Shuddha Buddhi. And by having a Shuddha Buddhi, as we saw the other day, one finds the inner repose, inner leisure, the inner space, inner freedom discovers. Freedom is always within. External freedom is always limited, always conditional. You never, nobody will ever have the most conducive environment externally. It's never going to happen. For anyone, even devas were to come, even for devas, the outer external situation is never going to be the most conducive, totally acceptable. It's always conditional. Never expect freedom from without, from outside. But the freedom is always within, and there is only one freedom, really speaking, that is within. What you discover within, that's all. If I am a slave of my own raga dveshas, then I can't discover the freedom within. If I am free from the hold of raga dvesha, then I can discover a freedom, the inner freedom I can discover, and thereby I can retain my composure, peace, objectivity, responses, character, all that I can retain, I can nurture. Therefore, a person whose buddhi is shuddha is also objective. Virakta. Virakta is an objective person, not the person who dislikes something. Not that. Dislike is again another side of like only. Where there is a dislike, there is a like. Okay? The opposite end is there, going to be there. Whereas Virakta means a dispassionate person. No passions. That is to say, not driven by one's own whims and fancies, raga, dvesha. That is what is meant by Virakta. So the person is objective, as we saw the other day. Objective to what is important, right? What is important, what is not important. Mukhya, amukhya, viveka. Viveka is not only of nitya nitya, but then in vyavahara, what is mukhya? Mukhya means important. Amukhya, not important, trivial, right? What is profound and what is trivial, what is meaningful, what is not meaningful, the person can see, can understand. So thereby the person would not waste one's energy, one's peace on what is trivial, okay, not important. It's very, very important, because we do see people, at least at times, losing their peace, their inner peace within, over trivial matters. Very trivial thing. We do see people losing their peace, their happiness over trivial things. Okay. Let the trifling things remain trifling. Of course, something small or big, if it is to be done, we do with due care, due attention, we do that. But then we do not lose sight of what is important, right? Never lose sight of it. And we do not lose our attitude, our outlook, we never lose sight of. Therefore, small things, there is a beauty about small things, but small thing is different. What I am meaning is trivial is different. Okay? Trivial is different from small thing. So, that is one thing. And therefore, what is lasting and what is not lasting, permanent and impermanent, that viveka also one can have. And as long as a person given to running after things, wants to have, wants to enjoy, wants to retain, wants to get more and more of pleasures, more and more of sensual pleasures, that person is trying to gratify the senses, sense gratification. A person may be committed to sense gratification alone. There are people we do see, we come across people who are committed to sense gratification, right? Okay. Some are so committed to eating, Some are so committed to having coffee. Some are so committed to alcohol drinks, okay, smoking, etc. They are so much committed to that. That is to say, without that, they will never feel good about themselves. Right? Sense gratification. But then, it is endless. Sense gratification is endless. How long I go on satisfying my tongue? Laddu, 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 laddu. How long? Endless it is. As we see in the Bhagavad Gita 2nd chapter, Bahushakaha Anantaha cha buddhayaha avyavasayinam vyavasayatmika buddhihi eka iha kurunandana. Whereas on the other hand, Bahushakaha, countless branches. You want to run after this and this and this and this. How many things one can run after? Infinite. Bahushakaha. I can run after any number of things. I may be running after this. And then, at least, okay, I run after a few things. Will I discover satisfaction? Bhagavan says, Anantaha, endless they are. Each one is an endless pursuit. Okay? Endless pursuit. There is one interesting shloka which says like this. It begins with Nisvaha Shatam Vashti. It starts with that, like that. A penniless fellow, right, wants to have 100 rupees. If I am penniless now. No penny, no paisa. If I have 100 rupee in my hand, okay, with me, I'll be rich. Right? Then craves for possessing 100 rupees. Nisvaha, penniless fellow, Shatam Vashti, okay, craves for 100 rupees, possessing 100 rupees. Alright. Somehow the fellow managed to get 100 rupees. Will the fellow be satisfied? Yes, I got what I wanted. I am satisfied. I don't want anything more. No. Then Shati Sahasram Vashti. One who has, and once the fellow gets hold of 100 rupee, then it's only for a moment. I got 100 rupee. I wanted it. I got it. Just for a moment, for a short while. Then the fellow says, very soon the fellow discovers it's not enough. It's not enough. See, some years back, the central government, Indian government, increased the salary of all government employees, and including the teachers, professors, lecturers, all that, increased. Before that, they were getting some 3,000, 4,000, something like that. And suddenly the government increased the salary to 20,000, 25,000, 40,000, like it shot up. Very quickly it shot up. And then for a few months, all the government employees were rolling in wealth, surplus money, surplus income for a few months. Okay? And then, see, last month they were getting 5,000, now they are getting 20,000. Wow, a fourfold jump for a few months. So they were rolling in wealth, rolling in money. Only for a few months, the prices caught up. Prices caught up with that, and inflation also shrunk the value of the inflation shrunk the value of the money. Now what? No, 40,000 is not enough. It's not enough. 50,000 is not enough. So this fellow who had 100 rupee now, very soon discovered that 100 is not enough. What's 100? I should have 1,000. Then 1,000 wala ho gaya. Became a 1,000 wala. Okay, having somehow got 1,000. Got all of 1,000. Discovers it's not enough. What is 1,000 nowadays? Worthless. It's like 1 rupee now. 1,000 rupees is like 1 rupee now. Worthless. It's only number, big number, but then no value. Because zeros are after, no? Zeros have no value, only one has value. Okay. Now I should have 1 lakh. Then follow 1 crore. All right. Then 1 lakh, 1 million, 1 billion, 1 trillion, 1 zillion goes on endless. And then the fellow becomes, I should own more of wealth, more land. I should buy real estate and then false estate, all that. All that I should have. All that I should have. Endless. And then plans to have one mansion in Mars. Okay? Have a mansion in Mars, in a villa in Venus. And own a jungle in Jupiter, all that. Wants to have all this, like endless it is. Sense gratification is endless. How long am I going to try to satisfy, to gratify my senses? Endless it is. Is it worth to invest my whole life in just sense gratification? If I spend the whole of my life in sense gratification, what is my life? How is my life different from an animal, from a dog? How it is different? It's not any different from a dog's life. It's in a different body, and then it runs on 4 legs as a tail, and then I have 2 legs and then I have no tail. That's all. Other than that, my life is as good as a dog's life. Okay. So sense gratification is not the Parama Purushartha. For survival, yes. And then some level of comfort, yes. Some satisfaction, yes. But then I need to declare to myself, I need to see in myself, yes, I have had this, I have tasted this, I am satisfied. One should tell oneself, it's very important to oneself, I am satisfied with what I got, with the sense gratification, whatever I had so far, I am satisfied. Now, I will not focus on sense gratification. I will not focus on it. That is one has to declare to oneself, make sure for oneself, tell oneself. Then there are emotional needs are there, right? Wanting to be loved, wanting to be important. I see somebody should smile at me, say hello, hi, good morning, should say, and then I should be important, I should be welcome, I should be loved. When I need help, somebody should help me, come forward. Even unasked, they must come and help, they must love me, they must be warm towards me. Right? They must respect me, value me, etc., etc. All emotional needs are there, and then things should make me feel secure. All that emotional needs are there. Well, one comes across, everyone has these needs. Feel important, feel loved, feel cared for, feel worthy, right? It's all important. It's there. And again, emotional needs are also endless. They are also endless. They are endless. How long can I depend upon someone or something for my emotional stability, emotional well-being? How long? At some point, no, it's all right for me when I am weak enough, when I am immature enough, or when I am in pain or trouble, I seek support, yes, it's okay. At that moment, I need, okay. But then, I depend on it, they sort of develop a dependency, they say, dependence, codependence and all that they say, I depend upon that emotional nurturing, emotional feed. I need to be fed emotionally constantly. It's tiring, I tell you, it's very tiring. Like the fellow husband telling, honey, I love you. Constantly has to say, honey, I love you, honey, I love you. gets tired after a while. It's demanding, no? It's very demanding. When I put my expectation on you for my emotional well-being, then I demand from you my emotional well-being, health from you, from my sense of well-being from you. I am exerting a pressure on you. I am draining you. I am sapping you. I am taking away your energy. Therefore, as I said earlier, it's okay in moments of utmost need, necessity, emergency. It's okay, but then it should not be a continuing affair forever. It cannot be endless. It cannot be. So this emotional maturity means emotional independence. Emotionally, I do not depend on other people for my sense of well-being. This is a very important step. Many people do not pay attention to this. The emotional independence. Do not pay attention to this. Take for granted. So this emotional need, emotional gratification is again endless. At some point, I need to say, yes, I am satisfied. Whether what emotional nourishment I got, I am satisfied. I am satisfied. O life, thank you. O world, thank you for nourishing me. Now I have grown. You were like a mother. You cared for me. You nourished my needs. You took care of me. You loved me when I needed it most. Like a mother. Thank you. I do not demand on you anymore. So that sort of emotional maturity is again one step, very important step. Then we have this ego nourishment we have. Again, that's an endless. Ego nourishment is endless. Why does the rich man want to be richer? The rich getting richer now. Why? Nothing. Richer does not mean anything to that fellow. Doesn't mean anything. Suppose I am a billionaire, okay? What am I doing? Oh, I am investing this and this so that I'll make a 2 billion. I'll double that. What am I going to get by doubling that billion? Nothing. It doesn't mean anything to me. Monetarily doesn't mean anything to me, really speaking. I make 2 billion, I make 4 billion out of 1 and then 10 billion out of 2 and all that. What does it mean? It's only ego nourishment, nothing more. Just ego nourishment. The fellow wants to feel big, right? Feel powerful, feel capable. That's all. Ego nourishment. Again, there is a healthy level of nourishment. A level of nourishment is necessary for a person. One should feel healthy. The ego should be healthy enough. Should not be overfed. That is different. Right? Overfeeding, we know, will develop cholesterol, pressure and sugar and whatnot. It will lead to problem. Overfeeding is a problem. Overeating is a problem. So too, here, expecting overnourishment, ego nourishment, again that leads to problem. One becomes arrogant also. Doesn't care for others. I want to make 2 billion. That's important to me. It does not matter to me by making 2 billion you become a pauper. No, it doesn't matter to me. I don't care if you become a pauper. You are bankrupt. You get pink slip. You get a pink slip. Pink slip means kicked out. That's all. Doesn't matter to me. How many people get pink slip because of my making 2 out of 1, 2 billion? I don't care. I don't care for you. I don't care for your needs. I don't care for your necessities. Okay, I don't care for that. So the person who is given to ego nourishment, over-nourishment, loses a lot of human perspective, loses a perspective. Self-aggrandizement, all the self-importance, pride, arrogance, all these are all outcrop of this over-nourishing this ego. A certain amount of nourishment is necessary. A healthy ego is necessary so that the person feels, the person has to say again the person has to say, I have had enough ego nourishment. Thank you. You nourished my ego. Thank you. Enough. I have to say enough. So these are the things which sense nourishment, sense gratification, then emotional gratification, and then ego nourishment. These all up to a level only. That means one cannot get stuck in those levels. Sense gratification, I cannot get stuck as a human being there. Lifelong I spend only for eating, drinking, and then making fun and frolic, that's all. Having fun, that's all. Meaning, sense gratification, lifelong. That life I would not live, it's not worthy. I have not lived worthily. Okay? Therefore, a person has to grow out of certain needs, certain pressures within, lack of fullness, the sense of want within, one needs to grow out of this. Viraktaha is a person, a mature person here. And also a person who is maturing, in the process of growing. Virakta refers to both the mature person and also the maturing person, both, who is in the process of growing out of certain mundane and inferior needs. Is the viraktaha. Such person can discover, is satisfied within, can discover the satisfaction within. Always it's very important to discover within. I have to tell myself, I have to see for myself, I am satisfied. Nobody is going to tell for myself. I need to discover for myself. I am satisfied with what I have gotten. Right? So, when I appreciate what I have gotten, then I can see more easily that I am satisfied. To say that I am satisfied, I need to appreciate what I have gotten. What I have not gotten, there are a million things I have not gotten. I have not gotten a million things. Million, why million? A billion. Why a trillion I have not gotten. Trillion things have not happened to me. But then a few hundred things happened to me. And that's what that matters. What did not happen does not matter to me at all. What happened alone matters. That I got this, that I got this. No? Something good, something timely. Timely help I got. Timely advice, timely guidance, timely help. I got. That's very, very important. What I have not gotten, I have not gotten anyway. How does it matter to me? I have not gotten it. Why should it matter to me? What I have not gotten, why should it matter to me? Rather, what I got should matter. That's possible only when I appreciate what I got. Okay? So, thereby one discovers the satisfaction. Thank heavens, thank the world that these things, nourishment, happen to me and I am satisfied with it. Like when we say, somebody offers food and then we say, we take 2 roti, 3 roti, whatever, our fill. And then we say, enough, thank you. We say that. So ego, emotional, and then all this should be treated like this. It should not be a bottomless pit. Sense gratification should not be a bottomless pit. Therefore, viraktaha, a person who sees the need to grow out of the mundane existence and then tries to grow out and then grows also. Virakta. That person will not be drawn by the mundane things. That's it. Tuchcha buddhya. Pade tuchcha buddhya. With reference to the position, pade, positions such as what? Nripadehe, kingship, etc. Famous, fame, money, power, offered power, all that. There is a story, there is a narrative, anecdote, okay, about this Bada Virakta Mahatma, very dispassionate person, totally dispassionate. So the fellow does not see, the person did not see anything, doesn't demand anything from anybody, doesn't demand. A great tapasvi, a great man, a great tapasvi the person was. And he was very prayerful also. So, according to the anecdote, once Kali, the universal mother, Kali is mother, okay, universal mother, she decided to manifest before this noble person, saintly saint, and then wanted to offer. She appeared before him and then asked, "O saint, I am very pleased with your nobility, your saintliness, I am very pleased. Ask boons, whatever you want, ask." She asked. She told him. He first said, "Play namaskar, namaste, namaste Kali, hey Kali, O mother, namaskar. I am very blessed, I feel very pleased that you have manifested before me, I am very pleased with you." And then he did all the namaskar, all that, manasa and all that he did. Then he said, "Well, I don't want anything." So I'm happy and I thank you that you offer, you are willing to give me boons, but then thank you, but I don't want anything. So you have already given me all that I wanted, you have already given me, I don't want anything. Not to someone, to Kali, the goddess, to her he says, "No, I don't want anything." Kali must have been the happiest, that must have been the happiest moment for Kali. Okay? Gods will be satisfied, will be pleased, utterly pleased when we say, "No, I don't want anything from you. You have given me already anything. Enough and more you have given." So Kali was very pleased. But then she said, "See, I just like that I don't come like this too. Just like that I don't come. Okay? Only on very important occasions to very saintly people I show myself. Okay? So my coming should not go waste. I must give you something. Without giving you something, I don't want to go. My coming, I don't want to be a wasted. Even though it is not a waste. Okay? It's not a waste. Still, Kali said, "No, I don't want to go. Without giving you something, I don't want to go." Very beautiful, no? When we go and see someone, we always don't go with empty hand. We always do that. Go with something in hand. Some token of love, your warmth, your friendship always. So there is a saying, "Riktapanihi na pashyet, Rajanam Daivam Gurum." When you go to temple, don't go empty handed. Take something, at least a flower, something. Patram, Pushpam, Palam, Toyam, as Bhagavan says in the Gita. Take some offering to the temple. Not that Bhagavan needs your offering. Not that this fellow did not bring anything. Empty handed this fellow came. No anugraha to you. Come tomorrow with flower, I will bless you tomorrow. Bhagavan doesn't say that. You came empty handed, I will not bless you. No. But then, what is my attitude? What is my bhavana toward Ishvara? Take something. And then, Daivam, Rajanam, go to see a powerful ruler. Don't go empty handed. Get something, take something. What you can offer, what you can afford, take that and offer. In earlier days, they used to have the landowners, big landowners were there, And in this small cultivators taking a lease, the land on lease from that owner, they till the land and then cultivate. When these people, cultivators, go to meet the landowner on special occasions, say on Pongal, on Diwali, some festival day, on some birthday, on something, what can this poor cultivator can give to the rich landlord? The rich landlord has much and more and much more of, and even what this fellow does not have, the landlord has. What will this cultivator take? So, and I, so Yajaman, the owner, dear friend owner, this is the pumpkin grown in my land. Please take this pumpkin. That's all, pumpkin. That's all this fellow cultivated. That's all this fellow can offer now. So that is what the fellow took is not important. How much, what is the value of it is not important. That the person took something is important. Right? That he offered something is important. That is he or she, that offering, that is important. Yeah. So Rajanam. And then Gurum, when you go to see a preceptor, Guru, don't go empty handed. Is there general rule. And also, and then we say children, when kids are there, no, don't go empty handed. Get some presents for the kids, what they would like, what they for their age, what would they like. Okay. So Kali is not obliged to offer something to this saint. But then she said, I should not go empty handed. I come to see you, I must give to you. Now, this man was suffering from some arthritis. Right leg arthritis problem was there. And this fellow tried a lot of medications and then all that, nothing. It didn't cure. It was some remedy or some amelioration was there, but then it never cured. Now this man said, okay Kali, oh mother, now that you are bent upon giving something to me, now I have this arthritis in my right leg. So you are all powerful, right? This man did not ask, remove your arthritis, he did not ask. Transfer it to the left leg. So let this leg have some relief. Transfer the arthritis from right leg to left leg. That's all. That's all I want. You can do it, give it, and you can go. There are people, lot of people are looking for you. They want lot of things from you. You can go and give them. Now transfer this arthritis from right leg to left leg. This is all I want. What does it mean? This fellow does not even want that. That my right leg should be cured. All that. Doesn't care for all that. Of course, takes care, but then doesn't feel that I am in suffering, I am in pain, I am in the left leg. It's paining, all right. But then I am not in pain. I am not the one who is suffering. The left leg is suffering, right leg is suffering, all right. Then I can take care of it. I can manage that. But then I am not in pain. Body is suffering, all right, but I am not in pain. So, what do you say? Tuchha buddhya, right? Not very significant. Therefore, Nripadehe padeyapi, even with reference to positions such as kingdom, etc., Tuchha buddhya viraktaha. We see in the Upanishad itself, Nachiketas, in the Kathopanishad, we see Nachiketas was offered. What all Yama offered Nachiketas. You want my seat? Come, sit. I will vacate the seat for you. Who will say that? Which minister will say that? Which president, which councillor, which legislator will say that? I will vacate the seat for you. You come and sit. Okay. No, Nachiketa says, this is not what I am after. So, Nripadehe padeyapi, even with reference to high positions, powerful positions, famous positions. A king is famous by default. By default, king is powerful. King is famous by default. Okay. Position, by position, by default, you get this. Right? You are the president. You are the secretary of such and such thing. By default, you have the powers by your very position. But then these are not the things which I am after. I am looking for the eternal, the permanent, the fulfilling, the lasting, okay, the most meaningful I am looking for. Therefore, virakta, not after these trivial things. And therefore, parityajya sarvam, is able to give up the seeker of all this. Parityaga means parityakta. Tyaga means tyaktru, the one who gives up is what is the important thing. Tyaga means tyakta. The giving up means the giver up is important. So parityajya, who is the one who gives up? The one who is who is the one who cannot give up? The one who is incomplete, insecure, without something. Okay, there's an insecure person. Incomplete person is the one who cannot give up. The unhappy person, right? The wanting person, the insecure person cannot give up. What does this person give up? Sarvam parityajya, gives up everything. That means the notion of ownership the fellow gives up. I am the owner of this, I am the owner of this and this and this. This person gives up. Why is it that the person can give up? Because of virakta earlier. Because the viraktaha therefore can give up. These are all namarupa. These are temporary, not lasting, and they are endless. Right? This will only lead to endless running after this, and therefore I am not after this. I can give up. It's not meaningful to me anymore. I can give up. Like we all give up, no, playing with balloons and toys. I suppose we give up. Now, as adults, no, we don't buy balloons and then for ourselves, and then play with balloons and then cry when the balloon bursts. We don't do it anymore. We have given up that. So a person can give up. Here, in the ultimate analysis, what does a person give up? What is it that the person gives up? See, I can give up something what I own. Okay? What I own, I can give up. What I don't own, I never owned it. How can I give it up? Giving up is not there because I have never owned it. You follow this? What I own alone, I can give up. When we look at this, what is it that we own? We are the owners of what all things? What all we own? If you analyze, we don't own anything really. We don't own anything. Really speaking. Legally, yes, I own this many acres of land, this farm, that house, these horses and all that, this much money, this business, that business and all that. All on paper, all for legal purposes. But for my own, what is it that I own? Really speaking, I don't own anything. Okay. It's all given to me. It's all given. Okay. It's a very beautiful outlook, vision to have. What it's given to me. Swamiji, Dayananda Swamiji says that given. Everything is given. Starting from body onward. Body is given. I am given this body. I am given the world to see, to enjoy, to relate. The world is given to me. The body is given. Okay? These are all given to me. Therefore, really speaking, I am not the owner. It's all given to me. I am not the owner really. And therefore, I can't really, giving up is, really I don't give up anything. I can only give up what I owned, but then what I never owned, there's no question of giving up. That is the giving up here. I never owned anything, right? and therefore I don't claim ownership to anything. That is the giving up. Right? The ownership, giving up the ownership is the giving up here. Giving up the ownership here. All right. We can say, no, I have something. If at all there is something which I own, okay, it's only ajnanam is the only thing that I own. Avidya is the only thing that I own. Avidya is the only thing that I own, really speaking. In fact, that is my capital, my business capital. Okay? I have been doing this business, this industry, this business, I've been doing this business. What business? Samsara business I have been doing. How long have you been doing now? Ageless, timeless samsara business I have been doing. How is the business doing now? Oh, very well. Excellent business. Good returns. Excellent returns. I spend $1, 1 rupee, I get 100 rupee in return. Samsara business is always roaring. Okay? Roaring business. There is no inflation problem. There is no recession problem. Okay? And then devaluation problem. And then theft, taxes, nothing. No tax, no deduction. Samsara returns, no deduction. All the return. Whatever I earn, that everything I get, no deduction. Samsara business. Roaring. And the capital is avidya, is my capital. That I am ready to give up now. That is the tyaga. That I own, all that I own is only avidya. That I can give up. There is one interesting verse one says. We say that Ishvara is all powerful, omniscient, and then he is the owner of everything, etc. He owns it. It's all his, Ishvaras and all that we say. But then this poet says, this saint says, who wrote this, I don't think you are right in saying that Ishvara is all powerful, etc. Ishvara owns everything. It's not right. Why do you say so? Because there are some things which Ishvara does not have. Okay? Avidya, ajnanam, there is no, Ishvara has no ajnanam. Poor Ishvara has no ajnanam. He is missing that. Ishvara doesn't have any ajnanam, poor fellow. So I am very willing to, ever willing to give up my ajnanam to him. Right? Have my ajnanam, please. Ishvara, have my ajnanam. This you don't have, I can give it to you. Ahankara, Ishvara does not have, I can give it to you. Arrogance, I have, I can give it to you. I have so many things to give it to you. All this I got by this, my capital, avidya. So I will give my capital and also all the earnings, profit, everything I can give it to you. Take it. Now Ishvara is a dud. Okay? Simpleton. Ishvara does not have buddhi. Ishvara gladly accepts what I give, and then what does Ishvara give me in turn? Gives himself. Gives me himself only. So there is a deal between me, the jiva, and Ishvara. I have a deal. Okay, I conduct the deal. I do the negotiation. I do the transaction. I clinch the deal. I give him the deal. I gave Ishvara my ignorance and everything, all that arrogance, pride, and all that hurt, guilt, whatnot, all that I gave, suffering, pain, all that I gave up to Ishvara. Have it. And then in return, I got Ishvara himself. Now, who is the wise fellow here? Between the deal, two people are there, me and Ishvara are there. Who is the wise fellow? I am the wiser fellow. Because I sold muck. I sold worthless thing and I got all gems and whatnot. Who is the wise fellow? It says, Tandadu Yentanai, Kondadu Untanai, Shankara. He says, Shankara, hey Shiva, आर खोलो चतुर. हु इज द चतुर है? कौन चतुर है? आपस में आप और मुझ में कौन चतुर है? Who is the intelligent one? Is you intelligent or me intelligent? I am the intelligent one. I sold a dud, okay, and I got all gems, all. So, what is it that we give up, really speaking, is this avidya, nama rupa, my agraha, my hold, my clasp on this, my grip on this nama rupa. That is all true paramartha, purushartha. This is what one really gives up. This is the real giving up. And other giving up is only symbolic. It's all symbolic of this. I give up my sense of ownership. Mamatvam, mamakara, I give up. And then this, I am willing to give up the tadatmya, the identification I have with my body and senses, etc. That I am willing to give up. Earlier I thought that, I held this notion that the body is me, I am the body, mind is me. What's happening to the mind? It's for me. I suffered under this notion earlier. Now I am willing to give up this tadatmya, deha tadatmya, I can give up. Mamakara I give up, deha tadatmya I give up, and also avidya I am willing to give up. This is the giving up. Okay. Sarvam parityajya. Now, swarasyam. Giving up everything, all right, and then yadu apnoti, get something. Giving up, getting is opposite. No, they are opposite. No. Yes, by giving up this fellow gets something very interesting. Giving up, it's giving up, that's all. What is this getting? No, by giving up I get something. Right? Yadapnoti. Parityajya apnoti. You are doing parityaga, that is apnoti. No? Yes, by doing this parityaga, this giving up, I get something. Yada apnoti, that I get. What is it that? Param Brahma. Okay, that's what I get. By giving up smallness, what I get? No, what I get? Bigness. By giving up the poorness, poverty is not the sense of I am being poor, I am wanting. By giving up that, I get the freedom from being poor, wanting, lacking, all that. That yadapnoti. Okay, we'll continue.